Welcome to Digital Asset News, or Dan for short. My name is Rob, and ladies and gentlemen, today we have a lot of things to go over. So, just as the thumbnail and the title suggests, there's some concerns about what's going on with Grayscale Bitcoin Trust and the proof of reserves. But thankfully, Coinbase came to the rescue and said verbally that they have everything. So we're going to go and talk about that. We're also talking about how JP Morgan applied for a crypto patent back in 2020 and now it just got approved. So remember, take a look at, make sure that you understand what they are doing, not just what they're saying. And then also another traditional finance guru touts crypto. And I got to ask you the question, are they really good for this space? And then lastly, we're going to go over a question I got from yesterday's video with crypto trader Tom Crown. And then lastly, don't forget the Shield Folio giveaway instructions about what's happening. And we'll go over that in just a second. So first things first, I need to tell you that sometimes two heads are better than one. And what I'm talking about is there's this guy. I don't know if you know him. His name is Jerry Hall. He's got a YouTube channel. He's got had a lot of high profile people on not too long ago. Tom Bilyeu. He also had this guy named Raoul Pal. I don't know if you heard about them. Greg Foss. Also, I think he had Peter McCormick on. And he's my go-to guy for when I kind of want to understand what the heck is going on with the markets. So without further ado, Jerry, thanks for stopping by.
Hola, amigo. ¿Cómo está?
Todo está bien, pero yo tengo problemas con, well, obviamente, hablando español, porque no es de mi primario idioma. That wasn't too bad.
Okay, English. So, Rob, it's nice to see you.
Thank you for coming on, Jerry. I appreciate it. So let's just jump into it. So first things first, just so everybody knows that, yes, I do giveaways from time to time. Don't say that don't block me or anything like that. But the Shield Folio, I'm giving away one. I'll probably give away one every day until Black Friday. But these things are great. I got one myself. And not only that, is that if I would have used this damn thing in the very beginning, I wouldn't have lost my 20,000 ADA, which I just misplaced a scrap of paper. So this one, it's waterproof, it's tear resistant, all that good stuff. And you can win one today. How do you do that? I'll talk about that in a second. Also, a couple of things. There was this quote I put out. Success has many fathers, but failure is an orphan. What that means is that when you're right, or when you're success, or when something is successful, everybody wants to claim it for themselves. Yep, I did that. Whose kid is that? Success. That's mine. No, that's mine. It's mine. Everybody wants to take credit for it. But nobody wants to fess up and say, I screwed up. Essentially, when there's an orphan around, like, there's an orphan. I'm not going to claim anything with there. And the thing is, of course, I have made many mistakes. I'm guessing Jerry is not perfect either. Jerry, am I right? You're not perfect?
No, far from it, sir. Far from it.
Perfect. So one of the things I tweeted this morning was, you know what I don't hear people talk about? Where they say, stop spreading FUD. Stop spreading FUD. Nowadays, that's all it is. Stop spreading FUD. I am complicit in that. I should have listened to the FUD campaigns a little bit more closely. And moving forward, I'm going to do so, which leads me to my first story. Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. So the issue was, before I get into this whole thing, Binance came out and said, we need more transparency. We need proof of transparency. This Merkle tree. We want everybody to come out, decentralized exchanges, and say, hey, here's our information. Here's what we have as far as digital assets and crypto. And everybody did it. Well, most people have done it or are doing it. But for some reason, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is dragging its feet. Jerry, have you heard about this story? What do you think?
You know, I think that in the light of the FTX blow up, the spotlight is going to be on those organizations that do comply with transparency, that do provide the Merkle tree data, not to mention who becomes compliant with whatever the FASB, no, FAB,
yeah,
the global financial action task force guidelines come out. So it's going to be interesting to see who does comply, who wants to be, quote unquote, we'll just call it the Transparency Act of 2022. Whoever wants to comply to that, I think, is doing so for two reasons. One, they want to retain a customer base, right?
Right. Sure. Right. Put it out there.
And attract further customers, because right here on the screen, it says 100% scams. Everything's a scam until proven otherwise.
I
And
like this
people
guy.
are going to adopt that. We've been burned too many times in this industry. And the legends go all the way back from, Mount Gox to the present day
Right.
of failure, deceit, you know, failure, deceit. And people are getting tired of it. They're going to demand better.
Yeah.
I do. You do.
Yeah.
Your audience does.
I tried. And you know what? This is what concerns me is that everybody says we'll never forget. We'll never forget. But the thing is, people are like, unfortunately, not us, of course, not us, but people have the memory of, like, say, a goldfish, and before you know it, they're like, oh, I don't know. There's a great interview on Bankless with Jesse Powell, former CEO of Kraken, where he was talking to other people that had been in the space, because he's been since like 2010, and he says it astounds me the people that I know who have been in this space for years and years and years. I mean, going back 2012, 13, 14, who had a large portion of their funds on a centralized exchange. And those guys know it because they went through Mt. Gox that lost everything now. And he goes, it's amazing how people just forget. And I'm like, if those OGs can screw up, then what's the chances that we won't screw up? So it really comes out of this. So that's why, like, I wanted to bring this to everybody's attention, because everybody's kind of like writing off, like, it's good. I'm not so sure. And that's why I brought Jerry on, because I just want to get a different set of opinions. So here's what's happening in this world. So let me just break this down. So Blockworks says, Coinbase custody has revealed the amount held in each Grayscale product as of September 30th. Granted, September 30th. Let me do some quick math. That's about a couple months ago. So no cold addresses were shared. But this is what they say it is. Look, they said Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, they've got 635,235 Bitcoin, which is 10 billion, 200,000, right?
Billion.
Grayscale Ethereum Trust has 3,056,000 ETH, and on down the line. Zcash Trust, Bitcoin Trust, Horizon Trust, Elements, Filecoin Trust, and then the large cap fund. But this is what they also put out. Coinbase custody is obligated to each Grayscale product to fulfill a number of critical operational practices that ensure that the digital assets underlying each Grayscale products are safe, as described below. Branch, what they say is each Grayscale product has their own on-chain addresses, but we're not going to release those. As we use client-by-client custody segregation, which I got to tell you, they're not commingling of funds. That part is great. Coinbase custody always ensures that each client's digital assets are segregated on-chain in deep cold storage from both the property of Coinbase custody and assets of other Coinbase custody clients. This means the digital assets underlying each Grayscale product will never be commingled with or confused of any other client. And then down here it also says the digital assets underlying each Grayscale product always belong to the applicable product as fiduciary and custodian. Digital assets underlying each Grayscale product remain such product's exclusive property. Coinbase custody does not ever take any right, interest, or title to any digital assets or any Grayscale product. So they're saying, look, trust us, bro, because this is what we do. However, when people say, well, what about proof of reserve? Show us, because they said right there, there's the cold storage. What do you think, Jerry?
Well, okay. There's an element in the context in which you delivered that. They're saying, trust me, trust me. Mm-hmm. No, they're not saying, trust me, Rob. Oh. Coinbase, unlike other people, like, okay, here's the contrast to two things going on right now in this industry. You've got Nexo, a platform I love and have done business with a long time.
Okay.
Milano is this auditing company for them, not publicly traded company. Coinbase producing an audit, giving us results,
right,
is a publicly traded company.
Right.
Therefore, anything Coinbase puts out as official release is liable, not only criminally, but civilly.
I see.
The auditing agency for Nexo, no such requirements. So it's important. It's really, really important for us in the crypto industry to understand the difference between those folks that are upheld through the laws of the land, through the SEC or CFTC or the U.S. Department of Justice versus those that aren't. And there is a completely different level of accountability and trust with a publicly traded company in the United States and one that isn't. I just think that's an important distinction to make.
Got it. So you know what? So, okay, I hear you, and I'm glad that you told me that. And of course, that's also great information. That's why I have you on, Jerry. Thank you so much. But you know, some people are screaming at their screens right now. They're screaming at them and going, but Jerry Hall, not that FTX is not, of course, not a publicly traded company. They're in the Bahamas, but they have FTX US. Of course, there are the shenanigans, the problems, the double dippers, the people that are just not on par. So even though they say that, now it becomes down to level of trust. So they could say it. Could they lie through their teeth and just say, well, this is what we have, and this is what we have to save our bacon, just like what SBF did. They could do that, right? But would they not be liable, like you were talking about?
The publicly, Coinbase would be liable.
Coinbase, right? That's what I'm saying.
Nexo would not.
Nexo, of course not, because they're not publicly traded, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So right now, some people are like, I don't care. I don't trust anybody. I think that's where we're at right now in this realm of the crypto space. No one trusts anybody. And I don't blame them. You talked about in the very beginning. So I think the only way for them to say to trust, I guess the next question would be, why not whip out those cold storage addresses and just go, okay, you want to verify, here's your verification. I know they talk about a security thing, but why?
I think that's above my pay grade, and I'm sure that there are some systemic risks to that they don't want to subject Grayscale to, and I applaud them for not subjecting their customers to risks that are unnecessary. But I think here's what we got in our favor, right? It's easy to dwell on the bad things, and those of our little 100 million people worldwide that are like heavily deep into crypto, we can go off for hours talking about all this stuff. Let's take a look at Joe Smith, who just saw for the very first time a post on Twitter or Facebook about Bitcoin, and he's kind of trying to figure things out, right?
Right.
Well, if one of the first Google searches he does with, who can I trust with my Bitcoin and Fidelity digital assets pops up, or Fidelity investments pop up, we're talking about a 50, 60-year-old company trusted with trillions of dollars of assets, have never had customer asset breaches or any of those quote unquote negative things. And now they're offering their customers Bitcoin and Ethereum. How cool is that? Let's look at the other side of the coin. People who are not maybe necessarily into quote unquote crypto, but love the ease and love the concept of a lower cost payment system. You got Apple Pay adopting USDC. Apple Pay, one of the largest money transmitters in the world, not just in the United States, in the world, is starting to adopt a digital asset for retail payment rails. These are all really, really exciting things that all the stuff under the hood, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Well, no, I know what you mean. And I think getting into it, the optics look good. The optics look great, don't they? Because we've got the Grayscales, we got the Fidelities, we got the BNY Mellons. We've got a lot of things going on. I mean, we're just going to talk about JP Morgan getting their patent out. And then, of course, everything looks good and everything's going on in the background. And then, of course, we got this. I think there's a big difference between the price action, because everybody wants numbers to go up, do they not?
Yeah, but everything's in context. Keep everything in context. So for just a second, I'm going to go off memory here, so please don't hold me to the penny. I saw a slide put together by MicroStrategy for their last stockholder presentation that showed since March of 2020 to today, Bitcoin still has outperformed everything.
Oh yeah, it has, and of course, like
$1,000, it has outperformed everything, and it's down 60% from its high, 75% from its high.
It's all time frames, of course. The gold bugs and the sorry.
No, even gold and silver's down since March of 2020. So you're an investor, right? If you only had $1 to invest and you understand the sectors that are available to you, Bitcoin is still by far the best producer in that time frame. So even with a hugely depressed price, in my opinion, your opinion, anybody that's been in crypto for any period of time will tell you these prices are depressed. The point is, it's still the best investment available. If you only had $1 to invest, where would you invest it? That you would
True.
get a better return than what we're doing now. And obviously, it's speculation. The answer is speculation because we don't know the future.
Yeah, always tremendous upside. So you got to think about to yourself, like just what you were talking about. This would lead me to my next point, which would be watch what they do, not what they say. We know Jamie Dimon, not a big fan of Bitcoin and digital assets. However, in the background, JP Morgan officially registered a crypto trademark. And when I first saw this, I'm like, who cares? It's just trademark. But it goes deeper than that. First of all, document retrieved from a granted USPTO app, JP Morgan has officially registered a crypto trademark titled JP Morgan Wallet. The brand is set to support virtual currency transfer, exchanges, and crypto payment processing. This was actually broke by Mike Condodes. He says, look, this registered trademark is going to be for virtual currency transfer and exchange, crypto payment processing, virtual checking accounts, financial services. And just to be square here, JP Morgan filed for this trademark in July of 2020. So this whole time, they've been like, this stuff sucks, it's awful, and things like that. But they've wanted a trademark. In August 2021, JP Morgan began allowing its customers to invest in crypto funds. This was a service that was offered through New York Digital Investment Group. So there's a couple of things here to break down. First of all is this. Just because they have a trademark doesn't mean they're going to start this up tomorrow. You have to understand that the wheels of finance move slow. And the next thing is, this kind of breaks on Jerry's point about Fidelity coming in, and now we got JP Morgan, all these pieces coming in. With all this going on right now, still, we're very sluggish in the crypto market. I think they're trying to get their feet into it. You would think there'd be more so, and then people will say, well, Rob, you don't understand because of a lot of OTC deals and people buying underneath the table and they're really accumulating. I'm like, maybe, perhaps. I just think we've got a long way to go. I still believe in the 4-year cycles, but I think it's still a slow game. I don't think it's a get-rich-quick type of deal. Jerry, what do you think?
I could not agree with you more. I want to bring up a point. Watching your last DCA show with James and Ben, that whole show was focused on what lessons have we learned. Let's share the mistakes that we've made. I had a big one, right? 2021 was a huge learning lesson for me. I'm sitting there, November 2021, over $1 million portfolio. I'm acquiring all this land in Costa Rica. I got all these projects that I'm going to do. And I look at my portfolio today, Rob, it's at $60,000.
Yeah.
But I own property in Costa Rica, and I have a lot of stuff that's generating yield. And, I'm collecting hundreds and hundreds of dollars every day in yield, and all that's wonderful. Right. But the point is, my biggest mistake wasn't in any of my strategy except the not take profits part. And I had been talking about this market and this industry was going to be 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. I've been saying that for a long time. We take 3 steps forward and I don't cash out a chunk.
Right.
Hello. Listen to your own advice. Listen to Rob. Make some stupid profits. It's okay. Nobody ever went broke taking profits.
I've heard that, sir. I've heard that.
I've heard that before. What am I thinking? So this is what my context that I was holding. I said, you know what? And I made myself a little post-it note sitting here on the computer. It says, what can I do better in the future? And I am going, and that is my little kind of cue to do some real reflection. And instead of coming up with a good saying, actually take action.
How do you do that?
Take action today. Sometimes it's little. Like, you know what I did today? I turned assets into USDC. Okay. It's a tiny little thing, but today, in my assessment of what's going on and what I think the next 3 or 4 or 5 weeks will be, I thought it was the best course of action.
This is why like me and Ben, friend of the crypto, we don't agree on some things, obviously. And he's always talking about taking a cold shower, which is actually pretty sage advice if you think about it for alts. But I still DCA, I micro DCA, and I told everybody why, because I want to. I'm not going to spend like what I used to spend and put into crypto because this is not the time. Let's be honest. There's bigger gains, but there are many bull runs in these little bear markets or bear market rallies, and it teaches me and it reminds me that when I'm up 10% or 15%, don't be stupid. You don't have to diamond hands a genius. You can take some profits along the way, and then that kind of gets you primed for the big run up. That's pretty much it. And that's what I've been doing. It's not much, trust me, but it's enough to where I grease the wheels and I go, okay, I know how to do this. And it remind me that, hey, I got to do these things.
Everything's relative, right? Like, you have multiple businesses and you have multiple income streams, right?
Yeah.
Some of them are derived from your labor and some of them are derived from your cunning investment a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whenever it was, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody's the same, right? So if you have an income, then DCA is important in one way or another, right? I've had to create an income through yield of my actual assets.
Yeah.
Well, I do now have an income. And so I have this simple little strategy. It's either the yield is basically I have enough to live on, and then everything over that either goes to USDC and I'm stacking dollars, or it goes to Bitcoin. And everything's relative to my entry point, my cost basis, and all this, that, and the other thing. So,
gotcha.
You know what I mean? So I do try to get a little wrapped Bitcoin every day. I'm doing that in the Cosmos world. It's super cheap. It's super simple, super fast, super efficient. And I really like it. And no platforms are holding my stuff.
Jerry, you're a degen. You're a degen with the Cosmos, and I know you are. But it's worked out so far. It's cool until it ain't, right?
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, speaking of cool until it's not, let's rip this one into it. The TradFi guys coming in. So this one right here, this is Bill Ackman. And what he says in this thread, let me pull up this thread real quick. Bill Ackman, you know this guy right here. And he talks about, so he's getting into crypto, and he talks about how it can be, he goes, I used to be a not very big of a cheerleader of it. Now that I can see the actual implications of what it could bring forth as far as the benefits moving forward. And he talks about two. He talks about two products themselves. One of those is helium. And the other one is Lime Bike. This isn't it. And one more. And he says he invests in these two companies, Tram Labs and TaxBit. So right now, I think people are looking at it going, well, first of all, who's Bill Ackman? Bill Ackman is this guy. He's the billionaire. He made a 100-fold return on the coronavirus hedge. And not that that's anything to brag about. He turned 27 million into 2.1 billion. And how he did this, he bought a portfolio protection that he could find, focus on credit markets with spreads that are a gauge of riskiness and fear at record lows. And then, of course, this was a while ago, but on Monday, he went on to CNBC and he talked about how awful the economy was going to be. And he was right. And then right after he did that, he took off the hedges and he made 2.6 billion, excuse me. So here he is talking about how great crypto is and how he's going to get into it. But he's trying to be transparent. So, Jerry, I'm not going to dwell on this too much, but are these guys good for our space? And why?
Are they? I don't know. I don't know. They're drawing attention to it. I can tell you that if this is just another ploy to set up an industry to short it, that's his game plan. That's Bill Ackman's entire playbook is set something up for the big short. Do you remember the global pyramid network marketing health Nutra something? Nutra. Anyway, he went on a big campaign years ago. That was one of his victims.
Nutra Vertical. No, Nutra.
No, it was like Nutrigreen or Nutra Health or something. It was one of these worldwide network marketing health food thingies.
Ah, okay, okay. I
And
remember this.
yeah. And he that was his whole deal, is set it up for the Big Short. And you just read his most recent one. It was the coronavirus. So is he good for the industry? I don't know. Is he good for TradFi? I don't know.
Mm.
But I think
But
what he says is true. I think crypto, in that first line, he harkens and describes crypto like electricity, like the telephone, like the internet.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
agree. I think this technology is fundamentally going to change things, and more business will come to it because it's cheaper, stronger, better, faster.
Well, let's hope so. I just sometimes I just look at these guys and I just think to myself, where's the play? What are you here for? Because you're not. I mean, you can say you're here for the tech and to help people out and everything else, but there's a reason why you got to where you are. I'm not. I'm not saying it's something wrong about being a billionaire. It's the free market. You can do whatever you want to. You can make a ton of money. That's great. I just always. I mean, with recent events, I'm a little bit even more jaded than I was in 2018, 2019, just to think to myself, where's this all going to? So, all right, Jerry, it makes sense.
Can I ask you a
Sure.
question before we move on?
Yeah.
So I'm curious what your big takeaway from the FTX thing is. What have you
Oh,
learned through your reading and understanding of what happened? What's your big takeaway from the FTX thing?
sure. I'm gonna tell you. So I was supposed to be on a space yesterday with Swissborg. I couldn't make it the whole thing, and they had a couple of people. There was one gentleman from Coinbase and what they were doing as far as like regulation and things like that. And I was just listening to the whole thing, and I was thought to myself, I don't think this is where we're going. I don't think this is where we need to go. I mean, not with regulation, just with centralized exchanges. What it taught me was this. First of all, I was wrong. And when I talked about people for self-custody, I would always give the example of, well, if you're a single mom with 3 kids and 2 jobs and trying to have a life, it's very hard for you to self-custody. However, how long does it really take to learn? And I think when you can start to become and say like, oh, I don't need these third-party people. I don't need to have a middle person to help me out. I can actually be my own bank. I can actually do the loans. I can gain the yield. I can make these payments and not have to rely on somebody who can or cannot shut me down. And all I need is just a ledger and a stone book to put in my mnemonic phrases, and I can do everything that I can do. And great. And also there's this great website called Dan Teaches Crypto. That's 100% free. I learned everything. Okay. That was a shameless plug. However, it taught me, and what it taught me was this, is that we went down a path we shouldn't have gone down as far as us getting into bed with the traditional finance players. And we were okay with it because everybody's making a bunch of money. And then once we figured out that the bunch of money wasn't being made and then it was a big rug pull, now we start to think to ourselves, what did we miss? Well, we missed the fact of the whole point of what crypto and digital assets were supposed to do, to get away from TradFi, to get away from the banks, to make something else a little bit better, a little bit more all-encompassing, especially for on a global scale. So when I take a look at these Twitter spaces sometimes, and they're talking about how great the next centralized exchange is, I'm like, I think that's the wrong way. That's kind of like what it's teaching me. Is it going to only be self-storage and self-custody? No, I think it's like training wheels. Like you start off with a centralized exchange until you get screwed over. Then you're like, oh, maybe I should actually learn how to do self-custody. Jerry, what'd you take from it?
I took 2 things away from it. One, really how far away as an industry we really are from a easy, secure user experience.
Oh,
Something
yeah.
that can easily be managed from this device that is safe.
Hmm.
We're very far away from that, right?
I gotta agree.
Nobody is going to have a phone experience that is secure as their Ledger Nano.
Right. Well,
You're just not. Okay, so there's that. The other part, and this was the scary part, I had never really put this together until FTX, and that is how similar crypto has become to the traditional world, in that fractional reserve banking is such a large part of the crypto industry, and how dangerous fractional reserve banking really is. I mean, it really is. If you don't have a U.S. Treasury Department backing your play, and you're doing those kind of things, you're on a house of cards.
Yeah, you're on a house of cards, and it's just the things that you have to think about, and it really comes down to risk management. And if you're okay, this would lead me to the question from yesterday, and it was all about exchanges. And what it comes down to is this: there was a fun time video. Me and Tom Crown, he came on Sunday, and he critiqued my 2025, potentially 2025, who knows, and my next crypto exit strategy. And one of the things that he talked about was limit orders. And when we talked about, because traders to me are, to me, they're in a whole nother world, another planet. I didn't really get it.
They assess value.
Huh? What's that?
It's the way they assess value.
Right. Right.
And coincidentally, also they're assessing risk differently, because you can't have the value without the, without
the risk. You have to take a little bit more risk to get a little bit more of a gain. So, but there were some things that Tom said that made a lot of sense to me. First of all, he said the best trades you sometimes take years. And he talked about his limit orders that would just fill. And he talked about March 2020 when everything went down below 4,000 for Bitcoin, 3,900, something like that. He goes, I never thought that would get filled, but it did. And it was a huge boom for me. And then a couple other things where he talked about how he's a trader, but 98% is in cold storage. Well, he only trades like 2%. And he's like, so he goes, people who are talking about like, you got to trade, you got to trade, you got to trade. He goes, you know how many traders are unsuccessful? Most. And so he said, he goes, this is just for additional gains or losses. But I mean, he follows the rules like I do. But the question that came out was this. This is from at D Runsky. Great interview, guys. Rob, I love how you let your guests speak. I'm hoping I'm letting Jerry speak, and I'm sorry, without talking over them. Solid work. Very last comment of the show was about limit orders. If you have limit orders out there, you'll need money in the account to cover them if they hit, correct? Which means money on the exchanges. So isn't that a slippery slope? Leaving cash or USDC on the exchange while waiting for orders to fill. Maybe I have it all wrong. Thanks in advance. Jerry, I guess it comes down to what you said. Risk.
Well, I'll tell you what. Okay. So understanding the environment that you're in, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there are people that only think that you can trade with a limit order on things like Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, blah, 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 blah. But that isn't necessarily true. No. I mean, I think wazirX, an Ethereum-based decentralized exchange, has limit order potential.
No kidding.
Or optionality. I know they're coming to the Cosmos, and I'm really excited for that, because you get out of Ethereum and the fee just collapses. I mean, it becomes very affordable to do things. You get outside of Ethereum. There is another couple of exchanges. I won't name them because I'm not sure of them, but there are other decentralized exchanges that are working on real-time order books. And again, here's the thing. So it's just like staking, right? Here's the technical concept. When you are staking your coins to a validator, let's say you own Cardano and you're staking to Dan Digital Asset News Validator, right? Sure. You, Digital Asset News Validator, do not own the rights to my coins.
Exactly.
All right. The same is true on a decentralized chain exchange with an order book, for the most part, if you are controlling the wallet.
If you're, it is
right. You have to staking.
Okay.
There is no custodial risk beyond the normal custodial risk.
You know what?
There's no extra risk because of a decentralized platform. And once people start to understand that and start messing around and playing with these things and getting comfortable with the buttons and the mechanisms and the different graphics on the different ones, you're going to see more and more people teaching more and more other people how to use them, because you minimize platform risk exponentially, because it's the same risk as staking your coins with your validator, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's
sure.
They're brilliant. So that's my response to that tweet or that question.
I think so. And I look at that and I think to myself, because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, well, couldn't they do that on a DEX with the smart contract functionality, right? So you put everything in there. If I can use my Daedalus wallet and I can delegate to whoever stake pool operator that I want to, why couldn't I just do that and have them move things around? But there's a double-edged sword, I think, because you know what's going to happen. There's going to be a project that gets it right with smart contract functions and everything's going to be cool and good. And there's going to be a couple that are going to screw it up, just like the other, not DEXs, but DeFi protocols that may or may not be rug pull operators and they just made a mistake, or they're just straight up rug pull people and then off they go. I think, but that's the thing. Finding out which one is the right one.
Time flushes out the bad ones.
Yeah, and of course, since we're the pioneers,
risk tolerance, right? How willing am I to be first and try?
Oh, because you know what it is. The pioneers, you can always tell a pioneer because those are the ones with the arrows in their backs because they're the first ones. All right. So guys, so that will conclude today with the news and what's going on. So there's two things. First, we're going to do a little Q&A. Jerry, you got time to stick around and answer some questions?
Absolutely.
Nice. And then let's talk about this Shield Folio giveaway. And just so you know, there's two things you got to do. First, you got to like this video. And sorry, it's non-negotiable. Like this video. And then there's a link in the description. Looks something like this. And it says, like the video, comment, like, and retweet this tweet, which is going to send you right to this tweet right here. And what I'll do is I will draw the winner tomorrow live on tomorrow's show. So just go there. All you got to do is comment, like, and retweet this tweet to get yourself a Shield Folio. Also, if you don't win, no big deal. Guess what? They're going to be 50% off on Black Friday. So actually, excuse me, on Thanksgiving, the 24th, and then Black Friday, the day after that. So for 2 days, you can get a 50% off if you don't win. Hey, we're not all winners, right? And that will conclude that part. So if you like today's video and want to win a Shield Folio, like and subscribe, or at least like. And that takes care of the news. Now let's jump over to a little Q&A, which is my favorite part of the whole show. And let's get to it. Jerry, let's do this.
Let's do it.